Hi everyone, and welcome to DIYing to Craft. My name is Sabrina, and I'm so happy you're here. If you're finding my channel for the first time, I hope you'll stay connected by liking, subscribing, and clicking the notification bell. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. Help me grow here on YouTube by liking, subscribing, and sharing with your friends. Now it's time to craft. Today's project is a checkerboard. I'll be using my favorite wood glue, 192 tumbling tower blocks, which is just over 2.5 boxes, and some clamps for the initial glue up. I'll start by gluing 3 blocks together as seen on the screen. I use the clamp to help keep everything together while the glue sets up. I use the baby wipe to clean up all the squeeze out. Repeat 63 times so you have a total of 64 3-piece blocks. Now that the first glue up is done, the sanding begins. These blocks are not uniform in size, so no matter how hard I tried to line them up when I was gluing them, they are misaligned and they have rough edges. So this is where the sanding comes in. I'm using a Dollar Tree sanding block. My husband suggested I use his orbital sander, but the pieces are so small I didn't think that would work well. So I spent a considerable amount of time sanding. Some edges needed more sanding than others. I also tried a different sanding sponge because I felt like the Dollar Tree one just wasn't working that well. Now, why I didn't sand the tops and the bottoms while I did the sides, I don't know, but here I am sanding them. I did both the top and the bottom because I wasn't sure which side I was going to use in the end product. I don't have a way of setting up my camera in my garage, so I couldn't record myself actually coating the blocks with pre-stain or stain. But I used a paintbrush and I followed the instructions on the back of the pre-stain can. Then, using a microfiber cloth, I removed any excess. I also wore gloves. The blocks on the right have the pre-stain, the blocks on the left don't yet. For the stain, I once again followed the instructions on the can, wore gloves during the process, used the sponge brush that is shown on screen. I really like how dark the color was, so I applied a heavy coat and let it stay on the wood for about 30 minutes before wiping off with a microfiber cloth. Here's a close-up of the pre-stain and stain I used. I recommend doing this outside My garage doors were open and I had a fan running as this was very stinky. Once they were dry, I let them dry for 24 hours. I brought them back inside and started assembling my checkerboard. I was being very particular. I wanted the stained pieces to have the tumbling tower blocks vertical and the pre-stained pieces to be horizontal. Had I run the pieces in the same direction, the board may have lined up a bit better, but I love how it turned out. Let's speed it up a little bit. Now that it's arranged, it's time to start the next glue up. I initially planned to glue 2 at a time and clamp until dry, as I'm doing here, but I got impatient. And because I got impatient, I decided to glue an entire row together at a time. The square on screen helped me line up the row. And that particular one I purchased at Home Depot. I think it was around $10. You could certainly use the one from the Dollar Tree, but this one is larger. I left this section in to show that all crafters make mistakes, and I wonder if you can identify the mistake that I made. I was going to ask you to put your response in the comments, and you certainly can still do that. However, I'm going to spill the beans and tell you what I did wrong, in case you didn't notice. I glued the tops to the row. However, I did not glue the sides to one another. So here I'm showing you I put the glue on the top, but I didn't put anything on the left side. I didn't put anything on the right side. Thankfully, as I continued on with the gluing, I learned my lesson, which I didn't even realize I had made the error until I was editing the video. But here you can see that I glue the bottom, almost forgot to glue the side, but come back and add glue to the side. Still didn't realize I made that error in the first row. All the steps in this project are a bit time consuming. Between the glue ups, you can see there's a wardrobe change. I had a t-shirt on in the previous section, and now I have a long sleeve shirt on because the weather where I live has been kind of all over the place. Here I am finally gluing in the last piece. Here is my finished checkerboard. I really like how the stain came out. At this point, you could just use it as it is, or if you have some of these furniture, I guess they're like furniture protection pieces that you put on like the feet of a chair, or if you have IKEA stuff, these are the pieces that come with those calyx units. You could put those on the back of it so that when someone is playing the game on the table, the rough texture of the back doesn't scratch up your table. So you could put these in the corner, maybe one in the center. If you have some of these little smaller ones, you could do the same. If you don't want to use something like this, or you don't have something like this, you could potentially put just some felt on the back, just glue some felt across the back. So it's got a bit of a softer texture, and the rough, it's not really that rough. And if you sand it, you can get it fairly smooth, but depending on the table that you might be playing on, if you've got a really nice wood table, maybe you don't want to have a little bit of texture or scratching on it. So that's where I would suggest putting these little pieces on or doing some felt. As for the pieces to play with, I picked up this checkerboard game at the Dollar Tree for $1.25. So it comes with the pieces. But if you have an old checker game, maybe the board is ripped or maybe it's not and you just want to use the pieces, you certainly could do that and then there would be the pieces. I was trying to find some of these little wood pieces from the Dollar Tree. They come in packs of 14, I believe. These happen to be little Easter eggs that I've had in my stash. They originally look like this. I put a piece of shelf liner on them for a previous project and never used these ones. So I was thinking this would be cute as little pieces. They're thick enough that you can easily grab them. But I didn't really want the Easter egg. I was trying to find like a circle or a star. I do have some stars that I had previously purchased, but I used them in another craft, so I don't have enough for the full game. And when I was at my Dollar Tree recently, they didn't have these out. I thought maybe with the 4th of July coming up that they might have it out, and maybe they still will, but they don't have them currently. But I think this is ultimately what I'm going to try to find and go with as the pieces, because I think it's pretty cute. And I'm going to put this on display in a room I have in my house that we're going to call the game room. So I like that. You can easily move them. You can stack them. They're not going to stay together or anything, but neither do these. They kind of click in a little, but not really. They're easy to grab. They do have a lot of these little wood pieces. I did see when I was at my local Dollar Tree that they had little seashells for the summer collection. The same bit of wood like this. This is kind of what the packaging looked like. I have some little chicks and some little bunnies left over from Easter. So you could trade these out seasonally. If this is something that you're going to keep out on a table somewhere, which is probably what I'm going to do, I could have little seasonal checker pieces, which would be really cute. I'd have to get another pack of these in order to have the 24 pieces that are needed. But these are options, or you could just go with the tried and true pieces that come in this or any checkerboard set that you might have. So there you go. Those are some options for the pieces that could go with it. And here's the checkerboard itself. I think it turned out really nice. I like it a lot, and I can't wait to play.